Boiling out. Belvidere North kicks down the front door to get into the third round. Who are my top performers this week? Also, too, who are my guests tonight? We got one special guest in the house tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and let it out. We got Coach Gary Griffin to weigh in. Come on in and weigh in on the big game this week, Belvidere North, as they travel to Cary-Grove. Guys, you know what we do at the beginning of the show. I just allow people just, get comfortable, get relaxed, because we got a great one tonight. We got an action-packed show tonight. I got Harold Bone in the house from Roscoe News, and I have my main man, Matt Trowbridge, in the house from RR Star. We are going to get into some things tonight about the games from last week. Boylan upset. Again, Belvidere North kicks down the front door to get into that third round. Now, I'm going to tell you real quick, go grab a drink of water, grab a coffee, whatever you need to do. Just get really comfortable, because that's the type of show that we're going to bring to you tonight. Also, too, go get your name. Matter of fact, go get your family tonight. That's what we're going to call this family night on the Bailey Pod. Let's go. Let's get ready. We got an action-packed show coming at you. You don't want to miss this. Let's go to the Bailey Pod. Hey, welcome to another great edition of the Bailey Pod. Before we get into the show, I just want to pay thanks to those that have gone and followed and liked the Bailey Pod. As long as you keep coming, we're going to keep serving this great content week in and week out. Make sure you guys go follow, go like the Bailey Pod. You can find us via YouTube. We'll be coming to you every Thursday night via YouTube at 8 p.m. Again, via YouTube, Thursday night, the Bailey Pod. You don't want to miss it. Last weekend, there were some big games on the scene. And, we're going to start out as we usually do. I got my guys here, Harold Bone, Roscoe News. How you doing, Harold?
I'm doing fantastic, Tim.
Great to see you. Great to see your face again on this beautiful day. And we got Matt Trowbridge, Rockford Register Star. How you doing, Matt?
Doing well.
Good, man. Thanks for coming in, guys. Hey, guys, I want to start off with the game, Matt. I know I saw you at the game. I didn't get close to you to say hi to you, but kind of waved at you from afar. But saw you doing your thing, and I was doing my thing over there, just watching the game as well. So, guys, Harold, I know you had a chance to see the game online. We're going to weigh in tonight, fellas, on that game. My first question is, guys, what happened? Matt, we're going to start with you. What happened?
Well, mostly Boylan didn't play that well. It's funny, they lose 33-10, but I think they could have won that game. They gave Coal City its only score the first half when they lost 30 yards on a punt, hiking over their head. So Coal City started at the 4-yard line, and then Boylan kind of shot themselves in the foot on a couple drives. They could have been up 14-0 or so in the first half at halftime. And in the second half, I just don't, understand how they can kind of run the same play over and over and over again and keep getting 5 and 6 yards. But I've seen that before. In fact, I'm worried that's going to happen to Belvidere North, on Saturday when they play a team that's just wants to run the option on them. But here, this team was just doing one play. It kind of reminded me a few years ago when Prairie Ridge had their quarterback keep the ball over and over and over again and run for 481 yards against Harlem in the playoffs. So I just think it's got to be super frustrating to Boylan, where it's like if you just hold them to 2 yards instead of 4 yards, you could have made them punt the ball and stuff, but they just ground out one long drive after another. And it's not like Boylan was blown off the field, but they're blown back just far enough.
Right. Harold?
Yeah, from my standpoint, again, I wasn't at the game and I would love to have gone to it. But 13-year-old birthday party is, sometimes that comes in front of going to a game. But
a little bit more important.
Yeah. It 10, 13-year-old boys was that was like going to a football game, to be honest with you. But getting back to the game, one of the things I made note of when I was watching, and I've watched it a couple times now, is Boylan could not convert on third down. I had a stat, they were 4 of 12 on third down. And then on top of that, they made silly mistakes. You had a great highlight there where it was a snap over the head of the punter. Like, it was those mistakes that didn't allow them to set anything up offensively to do anything, except what Matt mentioned was the handoff, the 5-yard handoff, the short passing game they could not get going. I think Williams struggled a little bit. We saw some of the things that, frankly, he's going to need to work on in the offseason. I mean, we saw the flaws of Boylan and what they need to work on for next year. I think they have a very good nucleus that's going to come back next year. They're going to lose, obviously, the Division I prospect, Scholl along the lines there, but they got some younger kids that are going to be coming up and playing well. When you give up over 300 yards total offense, nearly 200 yards passing, 200 yards rushing, that's going to be a tough day at the office for anybody. I mean, but going 4 of 12 on third down, I think, was the biggest thing that I made note of while watching that game. It was just something that they just couldn't get out of their own way. They just struggled to convert on third down and continue to hold on to the football. They were outscored 26-0 after halftime. And really, I mean, Coal City didn't do anything surprising as far as their strategy coming into the game. They did exactly what you thought they were going to do. They just did it better than Boylan.
Right.
Well, and
I agree.
The other thing is, I kind of forgot about it for a second, but Boylan dropped so many passes, especially early in the game. They dropped 6 or 7 passes that were right there, which is one of the reasons they weren't converting on third down and had long third downs. If they just, and I haven't seen Boylan drop passes all year. I mean, I asked Coach Cacciatore about that. He just kind of laughed and he goes, "Yeah, I mean, it's you picked the wrong time to have Butterfingers."
In the response.
Right. Yeah, guys, and both what you guys are saying is very, very compelling. But as it relates to the first half, I mean, you're down, you take a lead 10-7 halftime, and in the first half, what I saw great balance. Offense, defense. Williams was really trying to get in his groove a little bit. Wasn't really hot, but he was starting to get into a groove. He was moving the chains for the offense. Cacciatore was making some really great throws, slants, hitting some things on the perimeter to his receivers. The offensive line was doing a good job of giving him the type of protection that he needed to get that ball out quickly. Defensively, they were making some really good stops. Coal City wasn't really moving the chains as I saw as they were doing in the first half, in the second half. And again, when they came back out, I'm saying to myself, okay, we're going to go on and win this thing, and then, you saw Boylan come out. You were like, okay, who's this team? This wasn't the team that we saw in the first half. There's no way.
Yeah. Let me just ask 3 quick what ifs on 3 plays. Okay. One is the snap over the punter's head that gives them their touchdown. Second of all, is Caden Gates had like a 40-yard run, but the guy dove and clipped his heel, and Boylan got a field goal out of that drive, but that looked like it was going to be a touchdown. He was 3 yards in the clear. Right. And then the third play was they had a short field goal that got blocked that he just kicked a line drive kick. Right. So that could have easily been 17-0 at the half. Right. And if it's 17-0 at the half, maybe it's a whole different game. So Coal City, played their A game or A- game, and Boylan played like a C or C- game. And I think the two teams were probably fairly evenly matched. Boylan just laid a stinker.
Oh, well, poor execution, Matt. I mean, it was just poor execution. Now, poor execution in the second half. Again, you come out in the first half. I'm pretty sure if they go back and they look at film, which I'm pretty sure they did, they saw some really good things that they were doing well. They're probably not scratching their head in film, watching film and saying, okay, we were not that team we were in the first half and the second half. It was just due to lack of execution. They came out offensively flat, defensively flat. I mean, Coal City went to work. Coal City was more balanced in the second half than they were in the first half. Matt, would you agree?
More balance? I don't know. Actually, they just got the running game going, because in the first half they threw a bunch of passes, and I kind of got mad at Boylan for giving up the short passes without challenging them. It was kind of like Belvidere North the week before. But it's just, Boylan's been kind of up and down. I mean, they played Hononegah very tough. That was probably their best game all year. But, they didn't play well against East, really. They didn't play well against Jefferson. Some of it is that Boylan does not have a good running game this year. They kind of rely on passes, and then they drop their passing games. I was surprised that you could run the ball on Boylan that consistently, because I thought that, that's the one thing they had was, I thought, a fairly tough-nosed defense, and they just didn't come up to the line and hit hard enough.
Well, Matt, also too, I mean, in the second half, defense was on the field pretty much the entire second half. I mean, those kids are tired, so kudos to Cole City by continuing to pick up first downs and keeping that clock moving and keeping that defense on the field and wearing that defense down and keeping that offense on the sideline. I'm not saying their offense was clicking. They would have made this miraculous comeback, but that was really good game planning and great execution on Cole City.
Yeah, and I'll bet you guys, if we had went into the Cole City locker room at halftime, they were talking about the fact that, hey, let them make the mistakes, let them make the errors, because that's what happened in the first half. And so Boylan had to go the length of the field so many times in that second half, and they weren't able to do it because maybe it was a penalty that put him behind the chains, maybe it was a penalty or a dropped pass, or a missed read or a bad run. Something to put them in long third and down distances. They're unable to convert, or they drop the ball, and they got to punt the ball back. And then Cole City had some short fields to play with, and they were able to run the football, control the clock, and get away with that 33-10 victory.
Well, Cole City too, it's like when people use the running game and you talk about in the NFL, people want to have the balanced run to set up the pass, and I think so much of that stuff is crap. I want my running game to do is to get the tough yards and to control the clock, get you first down so you get 4 more downs and you can pass and stuff. And this was the best example of that I have seen by any team all year. Is they just kept the chains moving, and people fall in love with the big plays and that's good. But as long as you get 10 yards every time, you never have to give up the ball. And so this is what Belvidere North wants to be. This is how Cary-Grove has won state titles, and actually Prairie Ridge up there is in the same conference has done it. Is if you can, it's what Coach Griffin tries to get East to be, and when East has been at the best, he talks all the time about East has had just an inordinate amount of 10, 12, 14 play drives. And when you can do that, you just suck the will and the life out of another team. And so sometimes on defense, I don't know if you have to gamble, you have to do something crazy to stop it. You send everybody up. I don't know. But if you can just get 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards every time, it's funny. Like I look at the Rochelle stats, and they have their attempts and their yards gained, and they also put in their yards lost. They've got 3,000-yard rushers this year, and between the 3 of them combined, I think they've had 2 carries where they lost yards on the year, and that's kind of what Cole City did. And Boylan's got to be beating their heads against the locker room wall that we couldn't find a way to, at least a couple times. Well, you know what? A couple times they did make them go to 4th down, and then they got it on 4th down, and that just sucks the life out of you.
Yeah, and it starts to break your will.
Yeah. And you guys alluded to this, particularly you, Matt. You just stated, that Cole City really didn't do anything, really jaw-dropping, offensively. They just executed the ball. They moved the chains. They were really smart with the football. They didn't really turn the ball over. They had that one pick that Hernandez had in the end zone. But other than that, they were just a really sound team. Do I think they had better players? I don't think I could side there and to say that they had the better players. I think Boylan had the better players, but I think what Cole City did well, it was just their efficiency to really execute well when they had the ball on offense and come up with big stops on defense.
Yeah, I'd love to see them play again, and I think if they did, Boylan would find out a way to at least make them do something different, because that's the most frustrating thing, is when you don't even make a team change and they can just keep doing it. And like I said, it's not like it was overwhelmingly good, but it was good enough play after play after play after play.
And you think about what Boylan's offense did in the first half. I've seen catchatory target at least 4 or 5 different receivers. I've seen him target Lorenzo. He was starting to get hot. Eli Davis, he was starting to get hot. He was coming up with some big grabs, getting good yak, as he caught the ball. After he caught the ball, you saw McNamara in the mix. He was throwing at 3 to 4 different guys. So, you look at that offense in the first half and you say, wow, okay, we're up 10-7. That's all we got to do is just come back out in the second half. Let's just do things a little bit better than what we did. Do things better in the second half than we did in the first half, and we should be able to come out of this, this dogfight with a W.
Well, that's what, like Harold said, though, they couldn't convert the third down, and like you mentioned, Eli, and yeah, I thought he was really starting to have a good game, but they just didn't have the ball enough for enough plays. They got to keep the chains moving.
Yeah, and credit Cole City. They made the plays on third down to force Boylan into situations where they couldn't go for it on fourth down, or they made a play on second down to make it a longer third down, which forced Boylan's hand into what they could do. So, I mean, I think the game plan from Cole City after halftime, really, that's what won them the football game more than what the kids did on the field. It was the strategy as to what they tried to put, the situations that Boylan got put in, they couldn't get out of their own way. And
I think if I remember right, it was a 10-point game, and Boylan's defense had finally done something. It was 4th and 13, but Cole City was on the part of the field where it didn't make too much sense to punt, and they went for it and they picked it up. So Boylan that was like in the fourth quarter. Boylan stops them. Then it's 4th and 13. You think, okay, I stopped them, but you didn't. And if you stop them, then there was 7-8 minutes left in the game. It could have still been a game, but
right.
So even one play there was huge.
Right. Well, Matt,
it really wasn't that far apart. And that you talked about breaking their spirit. After that, I thought the game was over. You could just see, Boylan didn't have the fight in them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you got to give Cole City credit because, they got the ball the first drive in the second half and they scored right away. Matt, you had mentioned in one of your stories in the RS Star that, what they did in the second half was really phenomenal, really, scoring pretty much each and every drive, that they had, within the third quarter, and then did very well, did some impressive things in the fourth quarter. So again, they just really did a good job of moving the chains, executing well on offense, and keeping Boylan's defense on that field and tiring those guys out.
Well, and I think the thing that really hurts is I look at the 4A playoffs, and they're all good teams in there, but there's no Cary-Groves in there. There's no LaGrange Nazareths in there. I mean, Rochester got upset, and I think that's the most wide open bracket 4A of any of the. I mean, I think Montini's going to waltz through in 3A, and I think in 1A it's between Belleville Althoff and Lena Winslow. 4A was probably the most open bracket of any of the classes, and so to me, if I'm Boylan, it's gonna just kill me to watch the rest of the playoffs.
Right. And, I think we all picked Boylan last week to win this game. And they only played, it's going into the third round now, but the first 2 rounds, what they did in South Shore. I thought they should have really beat the brakes off South Shore. I really wasn't impressed with that 26 points. I was impressed with the shutout, what defense did, but I wasn't really impressed with that 26 points. And where I'm going with this is that I think that's kind of been Boylan's Achilles heel all year is how efficient and how effective are they offensively.
Well, they don't really have any big playmakers, It's like I talked about the Caden Gates run. He got caught from behind. I mean, there's not a lot of speed on this Boylan team.
Yeah, I know. I've watched 2 of their JV games. I had the chance to catch them. They have a couple of players in their sophomore team that I think is gonna. They have some better speed than they had on the varsity level this year. So I'd expect in the next couple of years they have a little more speed, at least top end speed on the varsity level. So they could have used it for obviously last weekend's game, but they got some horses coming for sure. Yeah, that play that you mentioned, Gates, I actually was surprised he got tapped on his heel and fell down. I thought he was far in advance. That was a great play by the kid from Coal City. But yeah, I thought he was gone. I thought he had plenty of distance and speed, but just couldn't to get that one extra stride. And Tim, as a trainer, that one extra stride is going to get you in the open and allow you to hit the home run play.
It's going to get you that first step. You can definitely do some things with that first step for sure. Yeah. Guys, again, we all picked Boylan, and I have to ask this question. I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question, but, did Boylan, again, there were only 2 games, but did Boylan really underperform in 4A? Matt, let me start with you.
No, I don't think so. It's like I was just saying is that I do think the 4A bracket is deep. There's just no great team there, but there's not bad teams either. It was I looked at Boylan and I thought they could go a long way, but I also thought, I wasn't sure about any of their games. They were going to have to have their A game or at least their A- game, and I think they were an up and down team all year, and they didn't play their best. And
well, just like you alluded to earlier, in so many words, they just didn't have that star-studded offense this year.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the Rasheed Johnson. They didn't have the Connor Dennis. Connor was really a dual threat quarterback. I mean, what he did with his legs last year really helped Boylan, advance in the playoffs, and what they did in the Nick 10 and what he was able to do with his arm. He had great arm talent. So, I think they were missing key players in key positions. Is that fair?
You just give him like a Rasheed Johnson, like they used to have. He was, not that ever.
I'm not taking anything away from the running backs that they did have this year.
Oh no, they're all hard-nosed kids, and even
love, those guys, but they just didn't really have that next level type of gear, so to speak, that Rasheed had. Would you guys agree?
I think so. And going back to last year with Rasheed, that was part of their problem is that he couldn't stay healthy. I think they could have gone farther the last couple of years if Rasheed could have been healthy too. So it's, Boylan's not far away, put it that way.
Right. Yeah. As far as, underperforming, I didn't really have an expectation. I think what they did in the playoffs is exactly what they did in the regular season. They had a great opening round game where they shut out South Shore. Second game, they ran up against a team that executed better than them and made some plays, and they couldn't match that, and they got the loss. I mean, that's a microcosm of their season. That's what happened against the better teams in the conference. They struggled a little bit, against the teams that weren't at the top of the Nick 10. They kind of beat up on them. That's what they did, and that's what we saw in the playoffs. So underperforming, I think they performed exactly what we saw in the regular season.
Right.
You have to remember these kids aren't college kids where they can transfer and we can give them all the money in the world to come and play for us. That's not the way this goes. But I think they should be very proud of the season they had. They won a game in the playoffs. How many teams in the state can't say they won a game in the playoffs?
Right.
Almost every team in the Nick 10, except them and Belvidere North.
And guys, we all saw the quarterback carousel, so to speak, early in the season, and Cacciatore decided to stick with, Dominic and then Williams, which I thought, it gelled. It worked. It worked later in the season. At midpoint of the season that you really started to see it work. I'm not sure how they were able to do that because, if you know anything about football, rotating 2 quarterbacks, even though high school is a short season, it's only 9 weeks, but even rotating 2 quarterbacks for 9 weeks can sometimes, not be in your favor, so to speak, as an offense in terms of your offense efficiency. And it was really really surprised me to see how that actually clicked for those guys. Now you look ahead at 2025, Williams comes back, Cacciatore comes back. It's going to be really interesting to see if they go to that same format in 2025, or does Williams become a wideout? Does he become a slot guy? Does he become a defensive back? It's going to be interesting to see what type of decisions Coach Cacciatore is going to make at that quarterback position in 2025. Because you can't. I mean, guys, again, did it work? Yeah, it worked. But, do I think it hurt them in some ways doing that? Yes, I think it did. It's kind of a murky situation. And what I mean by that is that it's hard to get an offense in its rhythm when you're actually rotating two guys, because, you got two guys coming in, every 2 to 3 plays or every series they're switching, your offense really can't get in the rhythm. And both of those quarterbacks are giving you something different. They're not the same quarterback. They're giving you something different offensively each and every down. That makes sense, guys?
Well, that's the part that I agree with, because they're two different styles of quarterbacks.
Two different quarterbacks.
But I watch the highlights you keep showing, and to me, what I would sum up Boylan this year is nothing came easy for them. I mean, we see those highlights. We don't see Boylan ever breaking a tackle. They didn't have the speed to outrun people, and they didn't break a lot of tackles. So it was just kind of hard for them to consistently move the ball. You watched Cole City and Benson was right there. He goes right through some guys, and he was breaking tackles all the time. And so
tough runner.
Boylan they just didn't have the extra gear this year. The guy that could break a tackle and turn 5 yards into 15. Right. The guy that could just outrun everybody. So everything came hard for their offense.
Right. Yeah, I would say with the two, Tim and Matt, I would say with the two quarterback system. Matt, you might know this better than I. When did Williams transfer in? Did he do it after the school year?
He did it like the week before school when Rockford Christian dropped football.
Okay.
And then he switched over. So
okay, I that's what I thought I had read probably in one of your articles. But think about that for a second. So all summer long, he's playing with a different group of players, different group of kids. He might not know a single kid on that team when he walks in the door. And so they're learning him. He's learning them. A tough situation for that entire Boylan team, because Cacciatore's been there. He's the coach's son. Williams is coming in. He's transferring in. Does he know anyone? Does he know the playbook? How well does he know it? If you become friends with Williams, are you then turning your back on Cacciatore and vice versa? There were so many dynamics going on with that team this year with the two quarterback system. If he goes with it next year, I think it's going to be a lot smoother earlier in the season. Plus, I think the coaching staff, they probably learned what Williams likes to do and can do. I'm sure Cacciatore and the coaching staff, they had a pretty decent idea what he liked to do and what he was good at.
And guys, don't get me wrong. They both did some really good things for that offense this year. But my point that I'm trying to make is that it's hard to get an offense to really gel when you're bringing in two different guys they're polar opposites in terms of what they can do. You got the passer in Cacciatore, you got the runner in Williams. If anything during the offseason, what they both can do, they both can, improve their weak links. Cacciatore needs to improve his ability to escape out of the pocket, his ability to move in the pocket. I think he doesn't really move that well. I think he's going to really have to improve that area of his game to actually give that Boylan offense a chance to win it out in 2025. And as it relates to Williams just needs to work on his arm strength. His mechanics are poor. He needs to work on his arm. Ball doesn't come out that well. Doesn't come out with a ton of velocity. He needs to get better at reading defenses. So there's a lot of things for these young talents to be able to work on. I think you may see a duel going into camp in 2025, for that job, if they both improve those areas that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I think that Coach Cacciatore would have liked one of the two, but they didn't separate themselves. You watched them, and I couldn't tell you who was better than the other. I thought there were a few times I was going to lean towards Williams, and then I watched a little bit longer, and I go, no. I thought he did a good job, and like you said, now they'll have a whole off season, and maybe with that much more time to decide who's the best, maybe they'll pick just one. But if they're both close like that, and you can't really choose one or the other, I see no problem with doing the way he did it.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing with having a whole offseason is I know Boylan plays in a 7-on-7 league. that's going to give Williams and the receivers an opportunity to get together. I don't know how much time and how much throwing he did at Christian, to be honest with you. I've not seen them in any 7-on-7 leagues up to this point.
Well, Harold, to answer your question, I mean, he threw the ball around, but, again, look at the talent compared to the Nick 10 that they were playing against. Yeah, they played the Stillmans and the Byrons, but, some of those subpar teams, I mean, that's where he made his money, in those games there. So, it's a different, maybe a level 2 up in the Nick 10. Some would disagree with me, and that's fine. But, I think, what he was able to do at Rockford Christian was good, but now you're coming over to a bigger school with better talent in the conference, and now you have to figure out how to raise your game, how to take your game ahead, a step and above of the conference where you've actually just come from, if that makes sense, guys.
Oh, it absolutely makes sense to me, and that's why I think he has. Again, this is my opinion. This is nobody else's, including the Roscoe News. I think he has a higher ceiling than Cacciatore does because he can also run the football. He can throw the football and develop that portion of his game, but he can run the football. Cacciatore, I think he might not be as talented in that aspect of the game of football.
Right.
So I would be surprised if it's a contest if Williams doesn't end up winning that at some point. But I think it's going to be an interesting battle for Boylan next season.
And again, Cacciatore's got great arm talent. I like the ball he throws. The ball gets out quick. He's got great velocity on the ball. He's got really decent mechanics. He's got some talent there, with the arm. My big question mark on him is, as I saw him, try to escape Saturday against Coal City. He's got to work on his movement. He just doesn't move well for a quarterback. I mean, if you're a dual threat quarterback and you're running at RPO, you want a quarterback that can actually give you both. And right now he only gives Boylan that passing game.
Yeah, and I don't want to condemn Cacciatore too much, but he really struggled when he had to move around in the pocket.
Right.
When he had to move around in the pocket, he really struggled in every game that I watched. And I watched a majority of their games. That's just what he did. And I think that's something he definitely needs to work on, the ability to move in the pocket, reset his feet, and get the ball where it needs to get to right now, not wait for the guy to get open and then throw it and then set his feet. Like you gotta pick your pace up. You gotta go.
Right. I would agree with you 100%, Harold. 100%. Guys, we're gonna keep the bus moving here tonight. We got Coach Griffin of the East E-rabs waiting on us here shortly. Guys, we're just going to go ahead and move right into our next game we're going to highlight. Belvidere North got it done last weekend against Wauconda. Guys, were we surprised with the fashion that they actually did it in?
I guess I'm surprised that they didn't really have that many yards, but I guess with their defense, you force all those turnovers, you don't have to. I mean, I think they forced 5 turnovers. That surprises me. I thought there would be more of, Belvidere North running the ball and getting some big plays. But, they played pretty good defense most of this year too. And I guess that's a good sign because they're really going to need to play defense this Saturday.
Yeah, as far the word that kind of stuck in my mind from the game was explosive. That's what Belvidere North was. They got the turnovers, and literally Booker, it was like he was a man among boys. I mean, he was so fast around that end a couple of times. I don't know if he was touched at all. I mean, he was just, and he was weaving in and out of traffic. That was one of the better runs I've seen all year. Bouncing off tacklers, running. I mean, kudos to that offensive line. I think they did a really good job. But the secondary for Belvidere North won that football game for them with, I believe, I counted while I was there, 3 interceptions, go along with a couple of fumbles there. But Booker was
4 interceptions and a fumble recovery.
What was that?
4 interceptions and a fumble recovery, yeah.
Oh, it was 4, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think their defense played outstanding. They ran the football. They were ahead of the chains all day long. They didn't really need to use the passing game all that much. They were able to run the football, and Wauconda was not as good as I thought along the offensive and defensive line. Now, that could be a credit to North and how good they are along the offensive and defensive line as well, but I just didn't think Wauconda, first of all, they didn't have any speed on that team at all. At field level, they were slow, and I try not to be critical of high school kids, but they were a slow football team. So at no point in that game did I feel like Wauconda had any chance against Belvidere North. I just think that they controlled every aspect of that football game. And from the opening whistle until the gun went off at the end, that was Belvidere North's game the whole way.
Right. And they played well, guys. I mean, I'm not surprised with what they, with the outcome at all. Obviously now, you go to round 3, things pick up a little bit in terms of competition. But the offense, what they did on Saturday was nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, they ran the ball well. They didn't turn the ball over. You got Booker involved early. You had great quarterback play out of Tapia. You got Tapia really playing really well right now. Again, he's not turning the ball over. And that offensive line, they just did a phenomenal job of just ensuring that, they make holes. They make gaping holes for their backs. And I think, with what Coach Beck did on Saturday, he exposed, some weaknesses of Wauconda.
Yeah, one guy what I worry about Belvidere North is that, and Harold made a point about Ben Bucher getting around the end. They blocked so well on sealing the edges and going outside, but they have not run up the middle nearly as well as they've done in past years. So I don't know if it's, their receivers and whatever else they're blocking. I know they usually don't have a big line,
right.
But if, they're going to have to get the 4 yards, the 3 yards, the 5 yards up the middle against a team as good as Cary-Grove. Right. It's great that they can break the big play because they're going to need that too. But I don't know if they can keep the chains moving the way they're going to have to. And to me, this game is going to be decided so much on running between the tackles. Right. And North has been kind of winning by running outside all year. And they're going to have to go between the tackles against Cary-Grove.
Right. Guys, we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest, talk about this game. Who better to highlight this game for us, also to Coach Gary Griffin. Gary Griffin Farrar is in the house tonight. Coach, how you doing?
What's happening, guys? How are you?
Good to see you, man. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight on this busy night. We're just illuminating Belvidere North, the big game that they're going to actually be faced with this weekend against Cary-Grove. I know you've seen Cary-Grove in the playoffs in the past, and you've seen Belvidere North since you've been head coach at East, and you're now in your 11th season. Can you speak to us a little bit about, how good is Belvidere North this year?
Belvidere North, he does a great job. Their staff does a great job getting every ounce of everything that they can get out of all their kids. The Booker kid is absolutely one of the most explosive kids in the conference. One of you guys were talking about the idea that they need to run inside a little more. The one thing that I noticed the most in our film against them was that they were able to get outside on us, even though we have a ton of speed. They were able to get outside on us because their guys do their job every play. They don't take plays off. They like each other. They work hard all the time. They could be smaller than you because they're tiny compared to us up front. But they're just coached well, and Beck does a great job with them. And I'm hoping that they do well. But I've played at Cary-Grove, and it is a different deal. I think they're going to be bigger than Belvidere North, but yet still as athletic. They're sound. They're coached well. It's just that's just a different bird. Any team that has beaten has beaten East St. Louis twice in the last 4 years, that is saying a lot. And it might not be the same guys, but they are really, really, really good. And it'd be awesome if Belvidere North could go there and pull it off. But boy, they better have a great game plan, and they better make some plays on special teams. And like Matt said, they better be able to run the ball inside a little bit.
Hey, Coach, with Cary-Grove, I was talking to their coach, and their quarterback's got 1,000 yards this year, but no one else has much more than 700. How many, when you played them, how many different guys get the ball, and how hard is it to know who has the ball?
I mean, the one thing about Belvidere North is that they'll be sound and they'll be where they belong. They won't try to play outside of what they're supposed to do. Sometimes we don't have that luxury in the city. Guys are trying to make every play, so all of a sudden the backside B gap is wide open. They're going to give the ball to 3 or 4 guys, and they don't need 3,000-yard rushers. They need 1,000-yard rusher and 4 guys to run for 600 or 700 yards because they're not giving up any yards. They're just sound as hell, and they do a very, very good job with the kids they have. When you have a program, it's just different than just having a football team. They have a program. They've had a program for years. And like I said, if you can beat East St. Louis 2 years out of the last 4, you're doing something right up there.
I know,
and it's funny because I'm in Cary right now, so it's it's funny.
Okay.
When they played Prairie Ridge this year, between the two teams, there were 4 possessions in the second half. I mean, they had a couple of, I think they had one like 14-minute drive or something crazy so both teams only had the ball twice. How do you, when you got an option team like that, that's good at grinding out the clock, how do you get off the field on defense?
Well, guys just have to do their job, and you got to tackle. If guys read their keys and they're always where they're supposed to be, I mean, you got to make tackles. I mean, the difference between a team like Cary-Grove or Prairie Ridge is that they'll pound you to death and you'll make a mistake, and they'll get a first down, and and Belvidere North has been that way for the last 10 years in the Nick 10. That they'll continue to do what they do until you make a mistake, don't make a tackle, and that's why that clock keeps running. I mean, it's what we try to do. We want to run the ball every play so you don't get it, and eat that clock up and cut those possessions down.
But I think of sometimes when trying to stop a running game, if they're real physical and they're really good at it, I think the best way to stop a running game is to get more numbers and get more tacklers than they have blockers. But can you do that when they know who to give it, when they're reading your defense and deciding between 3 different guys who to give the ball to? Is it harder to get numbers to stop them?
Yeah, you're not going to get all the guys in the box that you want to get against a team like that, because the second you get the box in your favor on defense, they're going to play action and throw the ball down the field, and you're going to have to switch up. And there's a reason that they're always a second, third state contender type team, and that's because they're able with their kids to make the adjustments and to do everything they need to do to take advantage of what you do. Everyone would love to put 8 guys in the box against them and see what you can do. It might work for a couple plays, but then all of a sudden they play action pass you and it's a wrap because you don't have the guys in the back half to contain what they have.
Right.
It's a juggernaut. They're just very, very, very good, and they're a tough team to beat.
Coach
and
Griffin.
then afterwards, their parents line up. Their parents line up for you, and you have to walk in between their parents, and they're tapping you in the back, and they're saying, "Great job, guys." And you can't even be mad. Like our guys couldn't even talk. Our guys couldn't even talk crap to their players because they would talk crap to their players after their players trucked them, and then they would just go back to the huddle. They never talked back. They never said anything. I just looked at one of my coaches, Coach Bain, and I said, "Boy, we're in trouble. It's going to be a long night." But thank God it was raining outside. They had a couple long drives, and we were back on the coach bus before we knew it.
So Coach,
has North kind of lost their ability to play action pass with, if people get too many people in the box with Nathan Alexander hurt?
because what they do is tight end pop, just right over the backers. When you get those guys in the box and they show any kind of play action and guys step up into that I call it the zone, that 2 or 3 yard zone, in that front seven. Once you step up and they release those tight ends or release a wing or that outside slot runs a slant, you can't defend it because they put you to sleep running the ball down your throat, kind of like what we do. And when they do pass, the guy's so wide open, you can kick the damn ball to him. So they just do a great job. He has done a phenomenal job. I mean, his kids do some things that drive you crazy as an opposing coach. Some things that are just a hair, it just pisses coaches off. But they do it legally, and they're just coached so well, very well. But so is Cary-Grove, and they're bigger, faster, and stronger.
Coach Griff, with Belvidere North not being a pass, I won't even say pass dominant, but just a pass team oriented team, not even 10% of the time really when they're on offense. Do you think now that they're making, bigger steps into the playoffs, now they're, punch their ticket to the third round, do you think that could actually catch up with them down the road?
I've always thought that was a misnomer. I think guys that don't coach football every day and don't trust their kids believe that. But if you trust your kids and they've been running your system for 3 years, it's very basic. 3 plays, 3.5 yards each play. You get a first down. The clock keeps moving. The chains keep moving. I don't understand why people try to get cute and do all these different things and, well, we should do this or you should do that. You got this guy, you got that guy. What he does at Belvidere North is he makes his guys as good as they can possibly be. He uses every ounce of everything they have, and it's obviously working. He's in a third-round playoff game against a state contender for the last 6, 7, 8 years, and maybe 15 out of the last 20 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they won three state titles in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
3 state titles.
Yeah, I think the only flaw in that, because I'm the same way. Keep the chains moving, and you've got no hope on defense. But to me, the one flaw in that is you get a holding penalty or something, and
or someone false start.
Yeah.
The quarterback messes up the exchange. I mean, welcome to my world.
Right. I think guys, what you hope for with Belvidere North is, they have a really good efficient night on offense, running the ball, so they don't have to actually, lean on that passing game, because again, we all know here they're not a passing team. I think everybody in the country knows that Belvidere North passing game is not really remotely good, so to speak, where they make their money, where their bread and butter is in the run game.
You might not know that because they don't have to do it. Right. They can run the ball down your throat, and they can,
Right. But what I'm saying, but what I'm saying, if they get themselves in the pickle, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 18, I mean, you got to pass the ball.
You don't have to, but yeah.
Well, if you, I was going to say, if they can run outside with Bucher and Roman, they can pick those things up too. I just think that they need to get Cary-Grove in 3rd and 10s or something. And I don't know how they're going to do that, because if it's 3rd and 4 all day, I think that Cary-Grove is going to pick it up over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, it could be a long night.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the fact that Cary-Grove, it's a different environment. It's something, they're playing in a quarterfinal game. Belvidere North is the first time in quite a while. So there's going to be a different energy, a different feel. How would you talk to, if you were the coach for Belvidere North, how would you talk to those kids? What would you explain to them? Because you obviously have the knowledge of that, but maybe Coach Beck and his team don't have that sort of knowledge. What would you tell them to get ready for this football game?
Well, I trust Coach Beck greatly, and I love what he does there. I think he'll tell his kids that we can accomplish anything. We're here for a reason. They have to play us. We're going to do what we do well. We're going to play hard, we're going to compete, and we're going to get after it, and we're going to see what happens. If we can block and tackle and not turn the ball over, we're going to be in this thing in the fourth quarter. So let's just get it. That's what I believe he'll say. I've been around him for 11 years, and I like the guy a lot.
He's a good man. He's a very good man.
What do you, Coach? What do you think in terms of their defense? Obviously, with the triple option that actually they're going to see this Saturday night, this Saturday afternoon. What do you think some of the things that they need to do defensively to slow that high level potent offense down?
You just can't get blocked. You can't keep watching. You got to get to your position and get to your gap and play hard. And Belvidere North kids will do that. They will do what they're coached to do. And I think that's going to be a benefit for them. I would love to see it, 55 and rainy, because I think it would help them a little bit, because I think that they're not as big as Cary-Grove's going to be. And I think, their speed and their quickness and the things that they have could help them on defense. I don't know how much it'll help them on offense if it was crappy out, but I think it's going to definitely help them on defense.
Coach, before we let you go, just give us two keys on offense that you think what Belvidere North needs to do. You kind of said it in a roundabout way, but give us two keys before we let you go, starting with offense, that what they need to do to not even stay in the game but win the game.
I think Beck needs to stay confident and not venture too far from what he's done, all year. And you got to give Booker the ball. I mean, it's simple. You got to get the ball to that kid in every way that you could possibly get the ball to him, and let him make some plays. Because I believe if they get a couple big plays, Cary-Grove ain't had to battle with a lot of teams. You know what I mean? And if you make a couple big plays and you get some momentum, that's a wrap. You get some momentum, you can really, really get some things going. And I think Beck's going to tell his kids that we're going to do what we do. We're not going to show up here and try to do something that we don't do, and we're just going to get after it.
I would agree for sure. What about defense, Coach? What are some keys defensively that they need to really hone in on Saturday in order to actually keep that offense quiet on Saturday?
I think they just have to be who they are. A lot of times coaches will get panicky and want to do some things differently, or and Coach Beck isn't like that. He's going to still come out, be sound. I can see him taking over situations that maybe an assistant would do normally. I could see him taking over those situations and making sure that they're done the way that he wants them done. And their kids, again, I've said it a few times, their kids are going to do what they're coached to do. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. They're going to work hard. They're going to compete. And they're not selfish. They're great teammates, and they work hard. And so I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm going to be the front damn row. I'm going to be right there. I might have to move some Cary-Grove parents out of the way so I can get close. But I'm excited. They'll be pissed at me because I'll be yelling for Belvidere North. But I'm excited for Coach Beck and his team. And, they've earned it. They worked hard all year. I thought they were definitely one of the better teams that we played, if not the best team we played all year. Because of their discipline and how well they've been coached and how hard they work, without all of the athletes and having a kid like Booker for them is amazing. I thought the kid, the Bertolino kid that they had for a couple years was pretty good, but this Booker kid's going to be special.
Yeah, for sure.
I like what Coach Griffin was talking about, being true to yourself and not trying to do too much. I know in so many sports, it's easy to think when you're the underdog that you have to do something superhuman. And but the one thing I would like to see North do is be a 4-down team. I would I would be scared of punting the ball back to Cary-Grove. And if they got anything close on 4th down, I want them to go for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Well, Coach, hey, we thank you for your time tonight. We look forward to talking to you again down the road.
For sure.
Good luck. Good luck in 2025, and we'll talk soon, Coach.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you. Coach Gary Griffin, everybody.
That's a maker of men, not only football players. That man's a maker of men.
Absolutely.
He's a good man.
He's
a good
he's
dude.
done great
well
things
with
at
kids.
East. I just love how he, works with the kids and does things. And yeah, I did a story years ago where I was surprised that he has his kids wash their own uniforms and they go down to the laundromat and he does so many things like that he's not just a coach.
No, he's a dad. He's a brother. He's an uncle. He's everything to those kids. I spent a lot of time over there at East, with Coach Griff, and he's wearing a lot of hats, and not many people can wear the hats that he wears and still be able to come out, and really get things done, particularly on the gridiron and making sure those kids are doing what they need to do in the classroom. Number one, also two, showing up for practice, staying eligible. He's had an array of kids make the honor roll over his tenure at East High School in the last 11 years. He's really, really done a phenomenal job over there at East High. And I think it's just really just going to continue to get better and better and better.
Well, we are lucky in the Nick 10 period. There's a lot of just great men as coaches. I still remember Coach Beck giving a post-game speech at Belvidere North after I thought they kind of got robbed by the refs late in the game, and just talking about how remember each, whatever, this is a family and we lose with class like we win with class, and how we're going to be a family forever, not just, whatever. And, Anthony Dedman up in Freeport, and there's just so many coaches that I'm like, wow, I wish my kids, would play for you or something. Just, we really have some great men in the Nick 10.
And guys, also too, we live in a different day now. Coaches have to now, understand the athletes that they have, get to know them, get to know their families. I mean, you're spending 4 years with these kids. So it's important for a coach, not just to get to know varsity coach, that is, not just to get to know your varsity players, but get to know your middle school athletes that are coming up, in the pipeline that'll eventually be E-rabs and pretzels, in the up and coming years. So, we got a great crop of coaches in the area, in the Nick 10. And these guys are good guys. I have a great amount of respect for all of them, and I love what they do. For their programs, and hopefully they can continue to do it and continue to raise, their game as coaches and become better coaches, and making sure that, they're giving the athletes what they need to be successful.
Yeah, every coaching staff I've dealt with in the Nick 10, they've been great to work with. A lot of the assistants are great as well. They've come back to their alma maters. That's something I noticed about the Nick 10 more than other conferences that I've covered in my time. That there are a lot of guys on staffs that have went to these schools, like Freeport, like Hononegah, like Belvidere North, Boylan as well. There are guys on the staff that have went there that, they understand the tradition. They understand it's more than, Friday Night Lights. There's the rest of their lives. They're working on that with them as well. They're keeping them eligible. They're, helping them, after school, maybe get a job when they're done. I mean, that's, I love the game of football as much as anyone, but, these men are teaching them about so many more skills than just the X's and O's. And I'm glad we still have the game of football around, because for a while there, I'm not sure that we thought we had it.
Yep. Football is just a game. There's a thing out there called, life, so, again, I think these coaches do a great job of getting these kids ready, for, developing life skills and getting ready for life and the challenges that they'll actually endure in life. So, guys, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and conclude the show. I appreciate both of you again for joining me on this special edition, playoff edition of the Bailey Pod. Good luck to Belvidere North. We'll do it again, particularly if they win. If they don't win, we'll probably still get on and just illuminate the game, some things that we saw, and give our takes. But guys, hey, enjoy your weekend. I'm sure I'll see you guys at the game. Not sure, Matt, you heading out?
Yeah, I'll be
Covering
at the
this week,
Belvidere
Matt?
North game.
Yep.
I'll be
Covering
at the
this week,
Belvidere
Matt?
North game.
Yep. Harold, you
Yeah, I'll
heading
be
out
at
this
Belvidere
weekend?
North game.
Okay. Harold?
I'm actually going to the East St. Louis game.
Okay. Good
So,
for you, man.
Good
for you.
Yeah, got a connection to East St. Louis, and I'm going to go to that game. But I'll obviously watch the game afterwards, and I hope that Belvidere North wins, and we get to talk to them in the semifinals. That'd be pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Well, hey guys, enjoy your weekends. Be safe, and we'll circle back here in the next week or so. All right. Thanks, Matt.
All right,
Thanks,
good.
Harold. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you.
Have a great week.
Yeah, guys, there you have it. Another great addition in the books of the Bailey Pod. Belvidere North got a shot. I really do. I think they got a shot. They're a sound team, and you heard Coach Griff speak candidly about, their program. What better coach to have on and Coach Griff to come in and just really just talk to, how good Belvidere North is, how good of a coach Coach Beck is, and his other coaches that coach with him. So it's going to be interesting. Good luck, Belvidere North, this weekend. Also, too, guys, whatever you're going through today, you may be going through something. You may have had a bad day. Always know whatever you went through today, put it aside, keep a forward gaze, and always know you can always better your best. Thank you guys for joining the Bailey Pod tonight. Appreciate you.